Hello and welcome to Through It All. This is a very great program that will bring you real life journeys of people that have come through some journey of life and sometimes challenges, moments of pain, moments of setbacks, and yet they make it through life. So we hear testimonies of how did I come this far? Well, I welcome you and thank you so much for joining us today in this program of Through It All. And I have no doubt there's a testimony, there's a word, there is a sharing, there's a message for you. Whether you're a man or a woman, going through family, raising children, pursuing your career, or even going through a very difficult time right now and you're wondering, how can I come out of this? I want to assure you, from this program and the sharing today, and my guest today, you will have a message, you'll have some information, knowledge that will empower you to succeed and to conquer. So, thank you for joining us, and today I have a very good guest, if I may say that, who's going to be sharing with us her testimony, her journey, her life, and where she's coming from. And this is none other than Dr. Grace Kiboro. Thank you so much for joining us today through it all. And you can greet our listeners, our viewers, and then we can move from there.
Good morning, our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dr. Grace Kiboro, and I'm happy to be in this program to share and encourage each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. Before even we come to your story, we live in Kenya, and we know how things have been for the last couple of weeks or even a month. A lot of protest, the government is saying this, the people are saying this, the Gen Z and all that. But when you look at this, and I'm sure you have lived longer than that, you have watched many dynamics of our country and seasons like this, what comes to your mind? What do you think is happening, and where do you think we are as a nation?
As a nation, we are at a crossroad. And yes, the Gen Z have a point about what they are communicating. Mm-hmm. The government is also listening. The other older people are also listening. And I believe by God's grace, we'll be able to see a breakthrough. Having said that, we need to have a point of caution, whereby anything that we are doing, we need to do it in moderation and not extend it. Once we have spoken, it is important to give the person you're speaking to an opportunity and some time to respond. And life is progressive. So as long as the baby steps are being taken towards the right direction, I would wish that we give it an opportunity so that even God can help us once we work in harmony, because that is where He pours His blessings. So that as a nation, we can experience His blessing and be transformed in the way He would want this nation to transform. Yes.
That is so true, and I agree with you. Definitely there has been challenges in leadership and governance and all that, and people have a point, but again, the problem sometimes is not the problem. We can escalate the problem by how we handle it. Mm-hmm. Because you can have a problem. We all have problems, whether in the family, individually, even as a nation, like a big family, we have problems. But also how we solve those problems, how we resolve issues, how we talk, how we discuss, and all that, we can actually move away from the problem and create even a bigger problem. Because I've been watching, the mothers that are, and families that are crying. They have lost their young people. It pains my heart to see young people die on the streets, and 20-year-old, 22-year-old. I mean, these are people that have a whole life. You can imagine that person would have lived maybe 70, 80, or even more, and now they are dead. So I would say even if there's a problem, there's always the best way to solve it and resolve it. It doesn't help going on the street, looting, stealing, destroying people's businesses. And somebody who had a business of 5 million, they wake up tomorrow, they have nothing. It really doesn't help. It's actually creating a bigger problem for all of us. So I think, like you say, we need a caution so that even as we go through this time and very challenging moments, we don't escalate the problem, and actually we now leave the actual problem and we are trying to solve it. Because now I would imagine the families that have lost their loved ones, they are not even thinking about the economy now or the finance bill or all that. Their problem now is that we have lost a loved one. Why? Somebody who has lost their business, they are not thinking about now the larger country. They are thinking about my livelihood is lost. So caution is key. But let's come back to the business of today. and who is Grace? Maybe you can share with us a little bit of your story, where are you born, growing up, and all that.
Okay, Grace, Dr. Grace Kiboro is little Grace who grew up in Rimuru, a place called Kabuko.
Oh.
Went to primary school at Kabuko. Then from primary school, I did well. I was called to Kahuhia Girls High School. From there, I did very well by God's grace. I went to Alliance Girls High School.
Oh.
From there, I went to Kenya Science Teachers College. Did well again. I got a scholarship. I went to the university. From the university, I did first degree, second degree, and third degree. All this is by God's grace.
Wow, that sounds like a long story, which you have really summarized, and you're going to very good. I remember like Kahuhia Girls and Alliance. I mean, those are the cream of the nation, and so you are doing very well. It sounds like you are doing very well in this in your studies. And I don't know which was your area of excellence or where were you excelling? Which subjects and which area?
I think on both sides.
Okay.
But my main interest was in the sciences.
Oh.
And in the sciences, then you find yourself venturing into. Actually, at first, I wanted to become a medical doctor.
Oh, really?
Yes, I wanted to do biochemistry, medicine, or something like that. So I excelled well in the sciences. Actually, when I went to Alliance for my A-level, I did maths, chemistry, and biology, hoping to become a doctor.
Okay.
But later, I realized that I didn't have the heart to see blood somewhere. So I started now shifting my mind from being a doctor to being someone else.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So you are in boarding. This time, I believe you went to boarding school.
Yes, I went to boarding school, Kahuhia.
Kahuhia, you're in what grade were you in Kahuhia?
From Form 1 to Form 4.
Form 1. Then you came to Alliance, that was A-levels.
Yes, A-levels.
How was it being in boarding school those days? Is it the same as today, or is it different?
I think boarding school was fun, eh? We loved being in boarding school.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you did not want to be in a day school.
Oh.
It was a joy to go to boarding school. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time in boarding school.
Today, there are many who think otherwise. They think it's like a prison.
You see, when we were growing up, for example, like myself, I was the last born in our family.
Of how many?
We were initially, I think my mom had 11 children, but she lost some. And finally, today we are 7.
Okay.
But being the last born in the family, normal African family had goats, cows.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I was the one who was the small boy who used to take care of the cows and the goats. So going to boarding school, I knew I would not have to go and look after the cows, look after the goats, cook at Parethram. The normal chores. Eh?
I see why you didn't want to.
It was an escape. Eh?
Okay, yes. Okay. So you wanted to be in the boarding school so that you don't do all the work and the house chores and taking care of the goats and the cows.
Yes. Plus, when you saw someone going to boarding school, they had a suitcase. Eh?
Yeah.
And then it was the mabati ones.
Yeah.
Mine was wooden. They would get a wooden one.
I remember those wooden
ones.
Yeah.
And then there's some shopping is done specially for them.
Yeah.
And you're escorted to the bus stop. And then, you know, there was some glamour around being in boarding school. So it was good. Yes.
Wow. Because we ran a school, I saw the other day they had written, I think the Form 4s were going out, so they were counting the numbers, the countdown. And they were saying, 20 days to freedom, 10 days to freedom. So, but it's different for you. So you're here born, you're the last born, family of 10. Maybe give us a view of your family. How was your family, your mother, your father, and all that? Did you come from a well-up family? Were there challenges? How was life then, growing up?
Life was hard. When I was born, I remember we were in a mud house.
Oh.
And when it rained, the water used to come through the roof. Then I would see the people putting the sufurias, the karais, and all these to catch the water.
Inside the house?
Inside the house. It used to rain.
Wow.
That time I was quite small. Then later, my dad started buying an iron sheet, building materials. Slowly by slowly, he was able to put a wooden house, which was cemented.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the best thing that happened.
What was he doing? What was his job?
My dad, they were doing small jobs. My dad was taking care of Muzungu. We used to have at St. Paul's University and Rimuru Conference Center.
Yeah.
There used to be the missionaries who used to come. And he was employed to work for one of them as a gardener. So he used to work as a gardener. Then when he moved to Lavington, they moved with him. So my dad was a gardener. My mom used to make some food and sell to the people who were constructing the Rimuru Road through the Dero.
Okay.
So we were also involved in...
That in the 60s?
Yeah, early 70s.
Early 70s, yeah.
Yes, and 60s. So we'd be there making, the normal maize and beans you see being sold today.
Yeah.
My mom had done that. She'd make porridge and sell there. So we were also helping her do that. Then she'd make the, the chondos and then sell to the people who had come from outside the country. Then from there, that's where we had goats and cows. Yeah. And she would do some bit of cultivation. So it was simple way of doing it.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but they believed in God.
Yeah.
And both of them used to pray. And they believed in God. And they taught us to pray and trust God. Wow. And each one of us went to school and went to college and graduated at different levels. And there is no one who fell by the wayside who cannot stand on their own.
I can imagine raising 11 children.
It was tough.
Today people have 1 or 2 and they are complaining.
Yes.
And this house, paint for us a picture of this house, mud house. How many rooms? How many bedrooms?
I was quite... Okay, that one, I think it was 3 rooms. The other one my dad constructed was 2 bedrooms. So one for them, for my parents, and one for all of us, the other one. So those days, it was very, I don't know, it was no big deal that my brother is sleeping there and me, I'm sleeping here. It was no big deal. Yeah, it was just something like that.
So one bedroom for all the children?
Yes, but later, they were working. So they moved out. Okay. It's actually much later when I saw them constructing those cubes for men. One of my brothers put up one. Those, but by the time my dad was constructing the other house, I think my brothers had gone to secondary technical and they'd moved out. But when they'd come to visit, they would actually sleep. So we were here, they're there. We just talk stories and then we fall asleep. It was no big deal, actually.
And I think the family unit probably was more united and close. People used to sit, we didn't have a lot of, all the technology we have today. Yes. And probably people just sit and talk, don't know TV, or you had TV and phones. Of course, there were no phones and all that. Yes. So I think the lifestyle was very, very different. So now you're going to school, you are walking to school, the primary school. The Kiboro. So,
it was actually across the road from my house.
By the way, do you know why it was called Kiboro? Kiboro is like a sungura or like a rabbit. I don't know why.
I don't know why they called it Kiboro.
Maybe there was a hill there that looked like a rabbit or something.
Probably.
But I imagine that was a cold area.
It's a cold area.
Rimuru is known for cold. So now, what do you think? Now your father working for the white people. And, as a gardener, do you think there are some values that probably he caught from them, working with them for many years, that probably he brought into your family?
Yes, he did. Because especially focus on education for the girl child.
Okay.
Most of my relatives, after class 7, some of them would not proceed. They were encouraged to get married.
Especially the girls.
And I remember a couple of times when I could overhear discussions with relatives asking my dad, why are you wasting money with these girls? And then my mom and my parents would put their foot down.
Wow.
And so that was something very positive about education, that we were actually able to proceed with education from class 7 to college to, all those places.
Wow.
And yet, like my mom had not been much educated. I think she had gone up to class 3 at Mambere, at Kikuyu. I got to hear that my dad had done up to class 2. Then he was removed to go and take care of his father's goats and cows.
Wow.
So you can imagine, if this was their educational background, without the impact of the missionaries bringing in the idea of education and impacting on them, we may not have gone far.
Yeah.
So I
that
believe
was a
that
good
was
impact.
positive.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was quite positive. And
Yes.
I don't know how your mother did all that, all the business and all. Where did she get all these skills from? Because we always think you have to go to school, go to university, train as a business lady, and then graduate. And I mean, where did she get all these skills to run on the business she was running?
There were people who used to come and invest in the local people.
Okay.
If you've got a small shamba, that's, for example, they would grow flowers, cauliflower, and those kinds of the horticulture. So these people would come and approach you, give you the seedlings and support.
Okay.
And then you could grow them, and then you sell to them. Then I believe with the interaction with these people, they wanted the sisal bags. So my mother again now realized this was an opportunity to do the sisal bags.
Okay.
So that was another interesting thing. At night, when it is late, you'd use your time with the, the sisal ones,
Yeah,
on your thigh, making them, drying them.
Yeah.
Then she'd make them and sell them.
Oh.
So I think her interaction with people.
So she knew how to capture opportunities.
Yes.
If she learned something, she saw something, she would bring it and make money out of it.
Yes.
Being creative, I think that's what you're talking about. Because if you are raising 11 children, even 5 or 7, you have to be creative. How do you feed them? How do you put food on the table?
Yes.
Because if you are waiting and she's gone up to class 3, if you are waiting, and I know even Kenya today, there's a big challenge of unemployment. I don't know, maybe even before we go on with the rest of your story, what do you think, what is the missing link here? Of course, we have a lot of unemployment in Kenya. What would you tell people that are not employed? What are some of the things, that they can actually get involved? Like we are hearing your mother is weaving, the chondo and farming here and goats here and all that, to give them income, because sometimes you may be waiting for that employment or white collar job and it's not forthcoming. I don't know what you would say to this generation.
What I would say to the generation is that listen to your heart and see where you are. Even when you're very low, we know that at the rock bottom, the only way is up. Let me, for example, talk about the ones we talk about, Mama Mboga.
Yeah.
You have the vegetables that you sell. And for most of them, they may not have the basic information about how to go about it.
That's right.
Yesterday, I remember a lady selling milk. So I found her boiling the milk because it had not been bought off. And she said, "Ay, biashara ni mbaya." And in my mind, I thought, it is not that the biashara is mbaya. It's aligning with the times.
Yeah.
Even today, when I was working for the 5 Fortune company, we would say that a certain shop has closed, so the sales are coming low. Then you'd be asked, have the people moved from that area? No. Are they
there.
eating? Yes. Are they washing? Yes. Are they washing clothes? Yes. Then go and sell.
Wow.
Now this is what it is. Your Mama Boga.
Yeah.
Who are your customers? I have about 10 people who buy from me. Do I know what times they come to buy? Do I know what they need? What I'll need to do is, I have my small kambambe. I'll put their numbers there. And then I'll call them, put a little money and call them and ask them, today, what do you want? Do you want cabbage? Do you want sukuma? Do you want managu? Or what vegetables do you want today?
Yeah.
So Monday through Saturday, I know what you need. So when I'm going to the shop, I plan to buy for all these people.
Okay.
How much tomato? How much of this? Then I make a way of making sure that those things are available for you at that time. That way now, you are able to grow your customer base.
Yeah.
These people will talk to others and tell them, by the way, when you deal with so and so, they do this and this.
She's
Word
very
of
organized.
mouth. Yes. So they come and you grow their market. One thing I did at my place, there's a lady who used to sell those things, the vegetables. And then another shop opened right across. She didn't know what to do. Kiosk, supermarket.
Wow.
So she started selling vegetables. So she used to come and throw them anyhow. So I told her, let me, would you want me to add some value to your work? She said, yeah, by all means. I showed her what to do. Put your onions here, put your tomatoes there, put your this there, display them.
Okay.
Let us see them.
Display.
Don't tell us they're in the sack. You know, you want the cabbage, display everything.
And we can't see them.
Yes, to date, that lady has actually grown quite a lot. The supermarket is still across. The supermarket later actually started selling vegetables like her. Next, she is still growing strong. Why?
Just a tip.
Just a tip. She knows her customers. She knows what we like, and she brings to us.
Wow.
And for the young men, there is no job that cannot lift you. There's a young man who actually works with the mother next. That man wakes up early in the morning and sets up the kibanda. Then when the mother goes to the market, he has already set up the small tabletop and people are already buying. And they've been working with the mother for close to 2 years now. And he's about not more than 20 years. So you can actually
working with the mother.
Some
young people think, I don't want to work with my mother.
You can work with your parents. Yes. Start somewhere and then move on.
That's right.
Yes.
I like it. Start somewhere and then move on. And I think that's why sometimes most people disregard that somewhere, because you want to start up there and you have to start down here. And I like the tips you're saying you give to this woman. She listens. Take care of your display. Take care of your customers. Maybe plan what is your customer. Keep their data, like how many cars do I have? 10. You probably even think I can deliver. Maybe use a border and deliver to them, so that it makes it much easier for them. Now, thank you for those tips, and that you've learned even from your mother. I'm sure you learned a lot. So now you have your parents growing up. I would want to probably they're not here with us, and tell us what happened and how did that go, and the process probably of losing parents.
Okay, so at some point my mom was unwell, wailed for some time. We tried our best with the family to take care of her, but her time came and she passed on about 82 years.
Oh.
And I remember my mom was a great pillar for me, and my dad also. My dad was very supportive, very quiet, but very peaceful. Can you imagine? My dad never beat me or pinched me.
All your life.
He would talk to me. And one time I think I was not very happy because my mom had told me to go take care of those goats, and I had not taken breakfast and tea. And I was imagining I'm coming back in the evening, and I really made some noise. My dad came and said to me, Grace, you are not the kind to make noise. What is the problem? I still remember those words. And later, I actually went.
How old were you then? About how?
I was still in primary school.
Okay.
I went, and as I was now taking care of the goats, my dad came from Rimuru on his bicycle and brought me some mandazis because he knew where we used to go. So they were very dear to me. Even that time when my mom was telling me to go, it's because it was late and the animals needed to go feed and come back. And I'm sure she had a plan on how I would be taken care of. But as a child, you don't know these things. So finally they went. My mom passed on a certain day. We buried her on a Friday. And then my dad,
when was that?
I think it was 2000.
Okay.
Maybe 2002 there.
Okay.
And then we buried her. Then my dad, it's like they really loved each other.
Wow.
My mom would be making the chapatis and my dad is pinning. Then my dad would be telling my mom, you Miriam. And then it would be like, don't burn the chapati.
So they were very close.
They were very close.
So now your mom is gone,
Yes.
your dad is here.
Yes.
Well, we'll take a short break and we'll come back and continue with the story. Wow, this is very inspiring. We'll hear from Dr. Grace here, now moving on to being a grown-up, marriage, she got her own children. We'll hear much more, and now how did she even become a doctor? So we'll be right back.